this is going to be a really awkward stream. But if it is, awesome. I'm only 2 minutes late this time, better than the, 20 minutes late that it's actually been recently. Although, technically, I guess I'm like 4 or 5 hours late, considering that usually I try not to do this this late in the day. But today's been an interesting day because I've actually had to go down to the courthouse and try to get tags renewed and all that other fun stuff, which has led to an interesting set of scenarios, which I'll get into in a little bit. That said, how are you guys doing today? I see we've got Crazy Echo Girl and Callan and a few other people in there as well. We've also got Kitty and Wombologist, two of the people who've been doing a lot of fan art on the channel as well. I now have decided, speaking of fan art, that area over there, I guess it's there-ish. Oh, wow, somebody's messaging me on Facebook. That area right over there is going to end up being where fan art goes. And this, ideally, should be the last stream that has this setup. You guys are used to seeing this setup on Hammered Out and everything else, but it looked dated the day I made it. So this setup, to me, has never actually looked good. It's just looked serviceable. But I do have Emmett, Gaelic Knox, working on a new setup for us for live streams. Hopefully, that will actually end up working well. I see the notification is actually working for some people. I didn't actually get this set up very far in advance because I didn't know what time I was going to be able to be free. Normally, I get my stream set up and then I go do my own thing for a couple hours and then come back. Unfortunately, that means that usually streams end up getting delayed because it's madness over here. As much as I would like to be able to just do streams when I want, which is what I would prefer to do, what's ultimately been happening, unfortunately, is that I'll get things started and then literally everything will get in the way and cause mayhem. Like today, we had to get power turned on in the new house, officially turned on. Beforehand, there was I don't know what was causing the house to have power, but apparently there had just been power in the house. Also, we have a $2 super chat from Nathaniel Walters. For you, my friend, all I have available. You didn't even have to do the $2, Nathaniel, but for those who do not know Nathaniel, he's been on my show before. He helped out with, I believe, the 4th episode of Matt Powell's Science Falsely So-Called series, and he also has a Periscope, which I've been on before, both in viewing and I've actually participated on it before. He's a good guy. I would go check him out. He's also got a Twitter. Callan says, sounds like a pagan thing with the tech and misbehaves all the time. I thought the pagan thing was just being late. I thought pagan time was essentially fundamentally the same thing as D&D time, where you just are late by default, is what I understand it to be. Nightfall says, I just want to thank you for the Coming Out Atheist video. Helped me with the Bible-bashing family. Still disowned me, but helped them understand why. Oh, unfortunately, we can't do a whole lot to stop what our families think about who we are and what we do sometimes. My thing is usually if you're not causing any harm, then why should people judge you for simply existing? But that's just me. Not everybody thinks of it that way. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. There we go. Mark Caesar says, Cyrus has been on Nathaniel's Periscope. Sounds kinky. Fair enough. Pagan time is where we need to be when we need to do it. It's not phylogenesis time. Yeah, no, you're right. You are where you need to be sometimes, usually. That said, Smitty says, I can't stay long. Katie's coming home soon. That is fine. I don't know how long I'm going to be on air right now, but we will see. I know that I do have to make sure that I have a Monday video out for you guys, and since I couldn't think of an actual topic for today's video, I figured that maybe just a hangout video where I'm interacting with you would probably be best. I hadn't even planned out a thumbnail or anything for that, so obviously we've got a reused thumbnail here, the Let's Chat one. And if we get to a point where they want to, Pam and Aaron are currently watching a movie, but if they want to hop out, then they can hop in and make this thumbnail actually make sense at that point. But if not, then it's just you guys and me, which is fine as well. So Quiza has said that pagans are fashionably late as their super chat, which is fair. Dryworker says, hey dude, what's up? How's it going, man? We need to actually play League again at some point. Not today, probably, because I'm going to be busy. As soon as this video is done, I have to actually work on tomorrow's video. Mondays and Thursdays are madness for me, because Monday means I have live stream and making a video, and then Thursdays are the exact same thing. It's Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays that I get a little bit of a reprieve, and that's only when we're not having to do house stuff all the time. Damien says, what current day evangelist do you dislike the most? It's a hard toss-up. Steven Anderson is high up there. Matt Powell's high up there, both for the same reason. It really just comes down to which one of them has more reach at the time, and right now it's Anderson, so I'm going to have to go with him. I know a lot of people who've been personally affected by him, and I'm just not a fan of the rhetoric that he espouses in any way, shape, and form. That said, Wombologist says, can we get a sneak peek topic-wise? I can do that. The way I'm going to do that is actually going to be... Let me find... I have them here. So, topic-wise, you guys technically already got one sneak peek in the form of the faux thumbnail that I used. But... Here, hold on. I need to go ahead and put these in used. So here's one thumbnail that is going to be used for a future video, and it's one that I've mentioned that I wanted people to send me stuff for in the past. When I did my video against Peter Popoff, I specifically asked people if you could give me any videos or any resources regarding to Prosperity Ministries that you wanted me to take care of. As a result, we have this guy right here. Sorry if my transitions are not that great. But you guys have already technically seen this thumbnail because I used this for April Fools, but this is no less an actual real episode that will be coming out. I know that I specifically covered Peter Popoff to let people know that, hey, he was still at large, he was doing his thing again, even though the James Randi Foundation had eviscerated him years ago. But he is back, he is doing stuff, but I'd like to cover the concept of Prosperity Ministries as a whole, as opposed to just Peter Popoff. So there's one sneak peek into what is going on. I have another one that I can show you guys as well. I'm going to be going into another Dangers of Woo episode, specifically talking about chiropractic. And that's going to be sometime this week as well. It's going to be another one of the research-heavy episodes because there are some good things to chiropractic. The problem with chiropractic generally comes down to the same issue that we have with something like essential oils, where there are some benefits to these things, but people generally oversell them to the point where if you guys ever watched Leon Lush's channel, for instance, he covered an incident where these two people on a channel called Extreme Games, they claimed that they were dying of these various like terminal illnesses and that a chiropractor cured them of all these terminal illnesses. And chiropractors can't cure a terminal illness. That's not how it works. But let me go ahead and get this. Where's my thumbnails folder? There it is. This is the thumbnail for the chiropractic episode, as your sneak peek for that. I do not believe that Raziel is going to be accompanying me for that episode, as far as I know, but the idea of her hammering into my back there was definitely funny, especially considering that that happens when we sleep quite often. So, hopefully those little sneak peeks will help out a little bit, help sate some of the curiosity for what's coming this week. But Jim with One End said we have a chiropractor who pushed his shakes on us. He also hurt me more than helped for herniated discs and spinal stenosis. Yeah, that's the other issue with chiropractic is that in my experience, if you have a serious spinal injury that requires putting things back together, a chiropractor can help. But the problem is that chiropractic as a normal thing, like not to be used when you have like a pinched nerve or anything like that, from what I can tell, it's more of a luxury thing that a masseuse could do just as well. And I would rather have a masseuse than a chiropractor in most cases. But that's just me. A guy named Sean, I don't know why I said Sheen, did a 99-cent super chat, but did not say anything in their super chat, which makes me kind of sad. Because it says, oh, everyone was expecting it to be performed live. Expecting me to have, like, my spine just jammed in live. Yeah, no, chiropractic is good when it's in its particular field. So if you have a back injury or a back problem, then chiropractic can help with that if the issue is related to the spine and not purely on muscle, because that's what a chiropractor is going to be trained to do. The problem comes in when you have a chiropractor who thinks that they can cure your liver disease by popping your back. This is a thing that I've seen a few times, and I'm not a fan of when chiropractors try to extend their practice past their actual training. But no less, we do see that happens, and even then, a lot of times, unless we're talking specifically back issues, a chiropractor will actually help out with symptoms in the same way that cold medicine doesn't cure you of a cold. It helps you with symptoms, which can make you feel relief, but then we get into the other problem of you were relieved from some of the symptoms of your problem, but the problem never really went away. So in an ideal world, we wouldn't necessarily have to worry about this. People thinking that, oh, I was cured from X thing because they feel like they don't suffer from X thing anymore. But we do live in a world where if people feel relief from something, they immediately think that they're better. Like taking cold medicine, they think cures their cold. It doesn't. It helps you not feel symptoms, and that's good because one of the problems with the cold is how much you suffer during the cold. But past that, it's not actually going to cure that cold, unfortunately. Oz says you should try a Turkish massage. Lots of slapping, pulling. I think they're just venting some anger most of the time. I've actually seen some of that where like they have a hammer and a pick, and they start kind of like hitting you around as well. I've wanted to try some of that just to give it a shot and maybe turn it into a video. It's like when I did my colonics video, I specifically thought in the back of my head I should probably go get a colonic in order to say that I have for this video, but at the same time, that's expensive, and I currently don't have the funding to do a lot of the more practical bits. Just like I would love to take a day down to Atlanta and just like interview some people on the street, but I don't have the funding to warrant just taking a day going to Atlanta, because that would warrant having to pick up the food and transportation, all that other fun stuff. And with everything going on in the house right now, any day that I spend outside of my house is actually spent over at the other house trying to figure out what all is going to go on with that. Damien says, do you agree that Raging Atheist should have never accepted the debate with Matt Powell? I don't agree that he shouldn't have accepted. I think that there's a lot of problems that happen with that debate. That said, Nakasuchi is in the chat. Like, you can also have that conversation with him in the chat. He's here. Me and Nakasuchi are good friends. I've laid out my problems with that debate already, and I'm not going to do it twice. Do I think he should have gone into the debate? Yes. Do I think that he performed well in the debate? No. I don't think that, especially knowing some of the history behind how that debate came about, there were other problems that were not necessarily just related to it being Scat Towel that he was talking there. But no, Raging Atheist is here in the chat, Damien. But no, I've already laid out my problems with the debate. I'm not going to do them twice. If anybody wants to hear my take on how that debate went, please go to Raging Atheist channel. Please subscribe to him if you're going to be over there as well. And take a look at his video. It's like a 5-hour video, and I'm there for the first 2 hours of it. It's called Raging Atheist helped me with this one if I can't get it by the time that you hear this after the lag. But I believe it was the Modern Day Debate After Show was what you titled that video. So, I'm not going to go into that twice. But I will say that particular debate did lead me into making it the Are We Legitimizing This Person video. And I do stand by some of the things that I did say in there. But at the same time, again, that's neither here nor there to the question. Kureg said, did you see Messenger Reveals and Shannon Q go at it the other night? I did not see them go at it. I do know that Messenger Revealed I had to hit them on my channel recently because they kept on claiming that, like, oh, you could cure PTSD and they knew how, and there was some like religious woo stuff in there. And I finally got to the point where I was like, look, people who are suffering from this do not need your weaponized hope. Click. So there's that. And Lars Wolf says, a bird just ran to my window twice. Well, just remind me. I tried to save a pigeon at one point a few years ago. One of my friends worked at Subway, and a pigeon like flew through one of the open doors and just slammed into a wall. And it ended up dying from internal injuries, but we tried to nurse it back to health. I don't know why, but that just reminded me of that. Gainer says, on the topic of woo therapy, would you possibly do a video on Reiki? I probably would, but I don't know if I could really do it any more justice than Genetically Modified Skeptic did, because he did a Reiki video as well. And I really don't know if I can add any more to the conversation than he did. Just me. Like, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. But I'll do some research into it in my spare time, and if I find something that GMS missed that I really want to go into, then I'll do that. Otherwise, if the topic of Reiki ever comes up, then I'll probably just link his video and say, hey, he already covered this. He did a wonderful job. Boom. Jeff Holliday's Reiki video is golden from Atheist Rationale. I haven't seen Jeff Holliday's video on it yet, so I'm uncertain. Space Ranger says, do a video about a Luigi board. And I'm never going to call it a Ouija board. I'm going to just keep on calling it Luigi board, because Emperor's Text-to-Speech Device is a wonderful series, and if anybody hasn't seen it, please do. It's good. It is an excellent parody series. Source's input, though, and his help with Ocean and Dragnauts is going to improve my debates. I'm not going to go into another one until I'm prepared to represent the community from Raging Atheist. I wouldn't necessarily be so worried about your representation on the community, because at the side, on the one hand, if you feel like you want to represent a community, then go ahead. That's your prerogative. On the other hand, it's more just represent yourself as the best person that you can. Don't walk in oblivious to how to engage when you're in a particular conflict. It's like, for me, when somebody says something like homosexuals are equal to, insert derogatory thing here. I've heard pedophiles, I've heard serial murderers, I've heard all kinds of horrible things that people think that homosexuality is equal to in some strange way. And when they say that, it bothers me two times. The first way it bothers me is that it's morally wrong. Like, the thing they're saying is wrong, and it's demonstrably wrong. The second reason that it offends me is the argumentation is so, like, patently bad that I'm offended that the words came out of the person's mouth. So it's really weird to me, because it feels like the more that I study, like, debate and argumentation and formal logic, I get to the point where, like, I get more offended at this stuff, because I'm like, wait, no, that's not just wrong. That's not even wrong. If you've ever taken any courses, the worst thing a professor can tell you is that you're not even wrong, because that demonstrates, Christopher Hitchens pointed this out in one of his books, if a professor is telling you that you're not even wrong, you have gotten to the point where your answer is so categorically absent from what the subject material is, we can't even classify it as right or wrong, as it pertains to the subject material. Nightfall says in a $5 super chat, not much, but proud of you for saving a person. Was inspiring. Would love to do the same for a person. Tons of respect. You see, what's funny is that I keep on getting... I get a lot of stuff. Like, me and Raz both get a lot of stuff about how, oh, you saved a person. This is wonderful. But to us, it was like... I mean, we kind of formulated a plan in the course of, like, 1 hour and then just went to Florida and then, like, got a person. Like... Yes, we saved a person from an abusive situation, but it's not a, like, big grandiose thing. I would like it to be considered a more normal thing. But that's just me. Wambal just says, are you willing to do a video on Christian counseling? Both my mother and myself were pressured into visiting one because of the lack of proper training. She ignored obvious signs of suicide. Unfortunately, with Christian counseling, I run into the same problem that I do with Reiki healing. In that, with Reiki healing, as much as I would like to do a video on it, I don't know if I can do better than Genetically Modified Skeptic did. And with Christian counseling, I don't know if I can treat that subject better than Shannon Q can. Shannon has already started down the path of working on Christian counseling videos, and she's got a few on her channel already, and I would probably, more often than not, just kind of put a link to her videos whenever that conversation came up. It hurts, because, like, I want to do it, but at the same time, I don't want to just say the same things that my peers are saying about the same topics. I would like to add my own bits as well, and I don't know if I can add anything more that Shannon didn't already add to that conversation. Larry Townsend did a $2 super chat. I do not have any message in that super chat, though. Wellington Smith said Shannon Q has a great couple of vids on Christian counseling, which is true. Like she has done an excellent job in that regard, and I don't know if I can really do better than that. Refrosetta says, Cirrus, new subscriber, popping in before evening adventures and saying hi and keeping up. Awesome. Quista says, add more bits. When I say add more bits, this is the problem. I'm going to blame Gaelic Knox for this, because I didn't use the term bits until me and her started dating, but now, like, that's just kind of in my vocabulary. So, for me, it comes down to, if I can't add something to that conversation that was not already there, then I don't want to do it. And it's another thing, if I don't know that conversation is being had, and I don't know that the things that I've said have already been said like 1,000 times, then that's its own thing. There are some what's the word I'm trying to think of? There are some things where I will, like, say the same things that other people have been saying, like when I do my quote mining videos. But that's because when I did the evolutionist videos, there's not so much more that can be added to the conversation besides, here's the context of the quote that you're saying, here's why you're wrong, let's continue. But I'm not going to try to do someone else's video better than they already have done. It's like I got kind of upset because Cosmic Skeptic recently did a video on slavery. Specifically, he did a video on slavery regarding to the video that The Beat produced on biblical slavery. And it's a video that a subscriber had sent me a while back, and I had it just kind of like on my back burner going, I'll get to it eventually. And then Cosmic Skeptic did his video on it, and I'm like, I can't do it better than Alex did. Okay, fair enough. That said, I am being assaulted. Hi, honey. How are you? You are doing a dance. I'm going to turn the camera to you. Have you guys decided you're not watching movies anymore?
It was just getting really warm and I had to pee.
Oh, fair enough.
Also, I figured out the adventure we're gonna do.
The adventure?
Yeah.
What's the adventure?
For D&D.
Okay, neat. Don't tell me.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know that I got it done, so we're gonna start creating characters sometime in the next couple of days.
I love your videos. I'm glad you do them.
So we have a $10 super chat from Larry Townsend. I love your videos. I'm glad you do them. So you got to hear that from me and the robot voice, because $10 super chats get robot voice. Oh dear.
Hello.
Ah, I am being pushed back.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello.
Why?
Hello. Yeah. Hello.
Are you okay?
Hello. This is Panda Stream now. Yes. Hello. I am the panda.
Aaron, save me.
I am the panda. I will take over the stream.
Quisa says, punch Cirrus in the back. I don't
How
think
hard?
you should, though. No, do not. Do not punch him back. Okay, you have punched him back. Perfectly Queer says, what did I walk into? You walked into...
my cutie patootie.
Okay.
I love you so.
Okay. Okay. We're gonna do this.
No.
Ah.
No.
Why?
No, this is mine now.
Ah! I have been assaulted.
I am the here now. Hello.
Could I please move my arm?
No.
I would like to move my arm.
No.
Moving my arm sounds like it's what I want to do.
Panda death grip activated.
Please let me move my arm. All I want to do is move my arm. Please. I have been attacked. You don't exist? But, like, Panda. Raz,
Yeah.
do me a favor.
No.
Go give Ripley love. Go give Ripley love. Please?
You're gonna fall again, and it's gonna be glorious.
And it's gonna be your fault. Oh my god. Oh my lord.
Yeah, we're Polly. I'm dating him. He's dating Emmett. I'm dating Emmett. Emmett is dating Jeremy.
Okay, I am stuck here. If you're the panda, who's the walrus? I have no idea who the walrus is. Anyways, I'm trying to actually like scroll up and read the chat. Please stop that. Please stop making the camera bounce. Please.
Num,
Did you just lick the headphone?
Yes, she did. You know that? You know those headphones have been on the ground, right?
Do you think I care?
Probably not.
I think I'm the only one who
The shape of our relationship is a retarded Bronchiosaurus.
She's not wrong.
If you like put out, if like you draw out like as dots, us, we come out as like a retarded Bronchiosaurus.
Yeah, it just looks weird.
Russ says, "Embrace the love, embrace my love."
But I already have for 3 years. But I've already done all that. Michael says, I hadn't been on your Discord since last week, March 31st. Okay, fair enough. And Russ says I should embrace the love, but I already kind of do. Mr. Rickman says, we're also not poly.
Forward march to create your character.
Yes.
Also, Erin says she does not exist. Nope, never mind. I tried getting her into the camera shot. She just like fell to the ground.
She literally holding a cup of tea just did this maneuver.
I am Grace.
Questa says Raz and Ceres together like that oddly reminds me of a Sifu and Poe fanfic I probably shouldn't have seen.
I want to lick.
Ripley's doing the tongue thing.
Let me lick.
Ripley's doing a tongue thing.
No.
Damien says, have you ever seen the channel What Do You Meme? But make some response. Actually, What Do You Meme is... Hold on. I have my notes
What
here.
do you mean?
I have my notes here. Where is it? I actually have a response to What Do You Meme planned for the next 2 weeks. It is the What Makes Your God Any Different video. So yeah, no, What Do You Meme's channel, he sounds very confident when he says the words that he's saying, but I've looked at his channel and oh my. So the video that he did in response to Hemet Meta's video, the like 50 reasons he doesn't believe in God or something like that. I'm doing a response to the one where he said, what makes your God any different? Because as I was listening to the video, I was like, this doesn't sound like something I'm going to respond to. And then he said something nightmarishly dumb. That was the thing that he said. He had said that whether or not you have a good reason to believe God doesn't exist doesn't mean he doesn't exist. So, and he just kind of went off that loud, and I'm like, well, hold on. If his video is about why he doesn't believe in God, then his video is about epistemology. It's about his personal stance. God existing or not existing is about ontology. Ontologically, something can be true whether or not it is true within your epistemological framework. So the question, does God exist, is very different than the question, do you believe God exists? And trying to say they're the same is freaking dishonest. And that's what Do You Meme did in his video. And that was when I was like, nope, your channel I'm going to have to take care of. I'm going to have to do some things on your channel. Because, you know, mixing up epistemology and ontology just bugs the crap out of me. I don't know how many times I've heard somebody use the excuse of, oh, well, if you don't believe, it doesn't mean that the God isn't real. And I'm like, well, yeah, it could be the case that that God is real. It does not mean that I believe in it. This is why we're talking about different things. You're talking about an ontology. I'm not. So, you know, I will be doing responses to What Do You Meme. I do have one planned already that I have submitted to Gaelic Knox for the thumbnail art. So, Callan says, why do people keep confusing ontology with epistemology? I don't know. I don't know why people confuse those two so often, especially... my biggest problem isn't that people confuse them. Because if people confuse ontology and epistemology, it's fine if you don't understand the topic. But if you're using the terms, ontology and epistemology, if you're going to use those specific terms, I'm going to assume that you do in fact understand the topic at least to a degree. And if you do understand the topic to a degree, that's a mistake you ought not make. There's your good if then ought statement for the day. If you understand the topic, you ought not make this mistake. There's objective morality for you guys. Woo. That said, I'm going to try to look at the chat still and see if there's anything that I have missed. Storytale says, so wait, if Erin doesn't exist and I'm hearing her voice, does that mean I'm imagining things? Not necessarily.
Like, I wasn't going to, like, 30 pages of 10 pages.
Not necessarily. Gainer says, any factoid that you see atheists get wrong consistently that needs to stop? There's a few. There are some gross misrepresentations of Christianity, for instance, that I think need to be just kind of thrown out when atheists are talking about things like that. Because, like, for instance, when an atheist tells a Christian, oh, well, your religion says you're not allowed to lie. It's one of your 10 commandments. And the Christian, if the Christian doesn't know their theology terribly well, then that might agree with that. Problem is that that bit in the 10 commandments was talking about you shall not bear false witness. Well, bearing false witness against what? It says false witness against thy neighbor. False witness against thy neighbor would mean that we're talking about something more akin to a courtroom. We're talking about bearing witness against another individual. We're not talking about lying. We're talking about bearing false testimony. That's fundamentally different than not lying. So, like, I'm not saying that you should lie or that Christians should lie, but if an atheist tries to use that argument against a Christian saying, oh, your 10 commandments say you can't do this, when that's not what they say, that's one of those things that just, it gets under my skin. Because I'm like, wait, hold on. You're assuming that they don't understand that, and you don't understand that either. But that's just one of the things that I would say that bothers me. One of the other things, not just in regards to Christianity, but it is fundamentally the fault of Christianity, I think. One of the big things that I see a lot of atheists get wrong that I would like them to stop misrepresenting, if possible, is painting all religions with the same brush. I've seen this before where they'll paint them all as if they're all harmful cults. Okay. It may be the case that the majority of ones that we have today are very harmful, and it may be the case that many of the more well-known parts are cultish or full-on cults, like Mormons, like Jehovah's Witnesses, like many sects of Islam. Here's the problem, though. If you try to paint everything with that broad brush, you muddy the water so much that that term becomes non-useful. And Shannon says, fuck Cirrus. Well, no. I prefer living, and I would assume that would involve me not living in some way, and I'd prefer that. Raging Atheist says, I go based on the common perception of American Christians. I agree that the Bible says different things than Christians do, but Christians say that Christians don't lie. Yes, there are many Christians who would say that. The problem is, though, that if you appeal to a specific portion of the Bible, then you ought appeal to it in a way that is accurately representing that part of the Bible. Fire Knight says, I've always been confused about something. Why do Christians not want to sin? They can always ask for repentance, and they say that we have no reason not to sin. Probably because so first you have to define what a sin is. A sin is an affront to a deity. For Christians, it would be Yahweh. And if you believe in Yahweh in the Christian sense, and you're not a mesotheist, then it is assumed then that you also love that God, and you do not want to offend that God. As a sin is an affront to God, you would not want to then affront God repeatedly. That would be like my pulled right out of the haystack response to that. I can't necessarily think that that's the correct response. But Shannon says, I'm supposed to be working on Faithless Forum stuff. Look at me go. But suddenly you're here. Like, I just finished some of my stuff for Faithless Forum. I had to get some questions ready for a trivia setup, and I just got those sent to Shannon. So I did part of my part. So I'm at least happy about that. The other thing, in response to Gainer's question before, one of the other things that atheists would be better off not misrepresenting, a big thing for me would be not treating all religions or not treating all God beliefs as if they are monotheistic. As an example, one of the questions, what makes your God any different than the hundreds of other gods? Well, that question makes absolutely no sense to a henotheist. For instance, a henotheist is going to go, well, I don't deny any of those other gods. I just think mine's better. That's what a henotheist is going to say. And a henotheist works within Christianity. Like, that question makes no sense to a polytheist. They're going to go, the difference between my god and those gods is that I follow mine, and I don't follow those ones. That's what their answer is going to be to that one. Like, that question only works when brought up against a monotheist specifically. The problem is that it's almost never framed as if it's specifically towards a monotheist. I think that's like one of the big things that I would say needs to maybe stop, if possible. But that's just me. Sci-Fi Mind, what do you think about the idea that Christianity having inspired at some level from Buddhism? I don't know what I think about it, because that's the first I've heard of that. So I couldn't give you an honest opinion. I haven't researched it. I haven't heard of it until you pointed it there, and if I've heard of it before, I have forgot. So if I'm 100% honest with you, which I'd prefer to be, I don't have an answer to that. Gaelic says, I feel you. I'm in university apparently listening to a lecture on spacing and animation. Except, Emmett, you already know spacing and animation. So, there's that. Let's see here. Also, if you guys have any questions, please send them through. I'll answer them as I can, because this is not a focused chat. This is just me chatting with you guys. So please send them in. Also, I have linked below that I am... Let's see... Fair enough. I just got... Oh, that was the Mr. Rickman. I just checked my Facebook messages, and I know who that is now. Fair enough. I did not quite know who had sent that message. Emma says, not to the degree that I should. Fair enough. Okay, there was a question up here a little bit. What do you think of Sagan's absence of evidence is not evidence of absence? I agree that absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. For instance, before we had the ability to tell that we were made up of molecules and atoms, we had an absence of evidence that we were made of those things, which would have fundamentally meant that there was a evidence that was absent, an evidence of lower forms being built up to make higher forms, like us. Not higher in an evolved sense. That's Aristotle's ladder. That's nonsense. But the idea of smaller fundamental forms, there was no evidence of that at the time outside of philosophical supposition. Except now we understand that it's very much the case. So I agree with Sagan that absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. 110%. It's the reason why, for instance, if you look up any of the philosophical literature pertaining to global atheism becomes a very, very difficult stance to substantiate or to legitimize. Local atheism you can do pretty easy, but global atheism becomes really, 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 really difficult because it takes into account things like the evidence of absence argument. And there was something else up here. I do not remember where it is now. Tata Philosophy says, what is your favorite fast food chain? Cookout. No, Whataburger. I want to say Cookout only because that's what's available to me here, but Whataburger is my favorite one, and that's not available to me here, which sucks. Frustrated says, did you catch my comment about what do you mean? I think that was the one where you said about... what was it? You had said the comment about wanting to respond to his Cosmic Skeptic video. So, neat. I can't think about much more past that. Questa says, well, to be fair, the theory of atoms doesn't have any direct correlation with the modern theory of atoms. I'm not familiar with older theories for atoms, to be 100% honest with you. State atheism is just as bad as Wahhabism and JWs. You can't force religions on hundreds, thousands, or millions of people. Tad Philosophy says the correct answer was Taco Bell, and I will debate you. Okay, so, Tad, listen here. When it comes to Taco Bell, here's my problem. Taco Bell got rid of the Beefy Crunch burrito. During times where Taco Bell has the Beefy Crunch burrito, I will concede the argument to you. But during times where they do not have the Beefy Crunch burrito, I cannot concede that point. Insects are cool says, question, do you like insects? I used to raise grasshoppers when I was a kid. For those who aren't familiar with Florida's climate, it's very, very wet, and it's very easy to catch insects in Florida's climate everywhere because it's a humid climate. It breeds insects. So typically, when I was a kid, I would actually catch 10 or 20 grasshoppers at a time, and I would make big things for them so that I could breed and raise grasshoppers. So do I think they're cool? Yes, I've raised them in the past. That's the epistemology of tacos. Seraphim Hyde says we have a Del Taco. Del Taco's neat. I need to actually go to Del Taco again because it's been like 2 years since I've had anything from them, so it's really hard for me to determine if I like their stuff still. Your Boredness says, hey, Sirius, how did you find out you were polyamorous? I found out I was polyamorous the same way I found out I was demisexual, and that was purely by accident. For those who aren't aware, demisexual means somebody who does not gain physical attraction until they gain emotional attraction with somebody first. So as a result, demisexual people have a very hard time watching things like porn, because unless you have some way of determining what this person's personality is, your attraction just it isn't there. There are rare instances where that's not the case, but usually that is the case. So it can be problematic. But way back when me and my ex were together, she wanted to try, this is maybe a little TMI, but she wanted to try going out with other couples, strictly for sexual reasons, because the only person she had ever had any relations with was me. I said, okay. We gave it a shot, and we found that I gained emotional attraction first, which became really hard because it made any type of no-strings-attached relationships essentially impossible for me. But through that, we ended up trying a polyamorous relationship with one of the couples that we enjoyed, and that relationship ended up having a lot of ups and downs and a lot of learning experiences, and ultimately turned out to be fairly toxic. But it was through being in that type of relationship that I learned that this was the type of person that I was. Purely by accident, and not because I went out on some quest to try to find that out. Tried doing something completely different that we found out I can't do. So, hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of information. It also means that I have had the wonderful experience of going to a multi-person sex party and learning that that is also not an environment that I enjoy. That is a very uncomfortable environment for me. So that was also a fun thing to learn there. Diamanto says he's going to triangular V. Neither, actually. Because me and Raziel are both dating each other and are both dating Emmett. And Emmett has a fiance as well who is dating neither of us. So it would not be a V or a triangle. Because as soon as you go past the 3-person mark, you're no longer in that category. So, there's that. Kitty says, I love everyone so much for my own good, with very special, very strong exceptions. Yeah. I generally tolerate everybody around me, and I trust everybody around me to an extent. There are some people who I don't, usually because they lose my trust. So, hopefully that is an interesting little diatribe for you guys. Fun fact, since somebody did ask the question how I found out, that is how I found out, purely by accident, not because I was trying to. Let us see here. Tata Philosophy says, how does marriage work with your type of relationship? Not judging, just wondering how you fell on the issue. What's funny is actually there was a conversation between me and a few other YouTubers about this earlier today. I'm not going to mention who all in the situation. My view on marriage is that it's a more legal thing and less a romantic thing, and so I'm not terribly fussed about it. We may end up having to use marriage at some point for like gaining citizenship of other people, bringing them in, and hoping we don't have to go that route. But my view on marriage is that if you want to do it, go for it. I would be more happy with some type of like civil union. That would be cool. Which was also what one of the other YouTubers I was talking to mentioned. And I was like, no, that's actually a decent idea. Like a civil union that you have to renew every 2 years, like every other license. would be good, especially because it means that if you find yourself in an abusive situation, you do not have to try to negotiate with your abuser about a divorce. You just have to wait to not renew. I think that would probably solve a lot of problems. I know it would have solved marriage problems for my mom, for instance. A lot of them. So that's generally where I fall on that issue. Fredis Corner says, I've never fell into a group sex situation, have been in a group cuddle situation. Would you be uncomfortable with that too? I've done the group thing, both cuddling and sexual. I don't find them uncomfortable. As long as they're people that I'm dating or they're people that I'm like ridiculously comfortable with, I don't care. Like, it doesn't bother me. Scrolling up. Sci-Fi Mind says, Cirrus, you got 200 and a perk point for figuring yourself out. How would you invest your points? I don't know what skill tree I'd invest the points into, but I'm going to go ahead and assume I would be investing them into healing. Wombologist says, how do you just get invited to a party? It's a who you know thing. Here in Atlanta, it's fairly easy to actually get into circles where you know people who will invite you to these types of parties. It just happened that at that time, I knew the people who invited me to that type of party. Not something I want to do again. Not my environment. Sci-Fi Mind says, who's your favorite atheist YouTuber? Cosmic Skeptic's up there. I wish Alex could produce more content, but I know that with university, it's almost impossible for him to. But Cosmic Skeptic's up there. I know that he's in a little hot water right now because of a recent video he made, but I'm still a fan of Rationality Rules. Holy Kool-Aid, Godless Cranium. It's really hard to say like where I have a favorite amongst them because I go to them for different things. Cosmic Skeptic I go to for a lot of general overview stuff because he's good at tackling that. Rationality Rules is who I go to when I want to think about like dissecting premises. He's good at that. Holy Kool-Aid is very good at laying things out in a very informational style video, and I'll go to him for that. And Godless Cranium I go to because he's just got a wonderful voice. I'm kidding. There's more about Godless Cranium than his voice. His response videos are top notch though. Shannon just says riots. Shannon is angry. Fair enough. Raging Atheist says, I've been to that kind of party in Atlanta. Yeah, no, Atlanta is an easy place for that. It is a place where you can learn those things. Shannon has a good channel too. Because if I don't say that, she's going to destroy me. Seraphim says, hook a girl up. I could have done so 4 years ago. I think 4 years ago. I think that's 4 or 5. I am no longer actively in those circles anymore because, again, it's not an environment that I was terribly comfortable with. So I can't really hook you up with a circle that I'm no longer in. So, fair of that. Sci-Fi Mind says you can unlock a healing spell. I'll unlock Flash of Light, please. And so the Shannon Cirrus war begins. Oh God, it's the peanut butter war all over again, except this time it's Shannon Q. Shannon fucks Cirrus again in his empty platitudes. He's dead to me. Well, that sucks. I guess if we're... I'm as dead to you now as I was dead to Paul when I screwed up that Star Wars intro. Oz says, show Shannon some love or I'll fund that riot. Wait, Oz, if you're a patron to me and you plan on, like, funding Shannon during this, would that make you an arms dealer who's actively, like, giving arms to both sides in the war? Neil Stone says, have you seen Rationality Rules video on transgender athletes? I have seen the video. I do know that he's in hot water as a result on it. I do know that a lot of the data that he used in the video didn't necessarily represent things in the best of ways. But I also am cisgendered. So it doesn't fall like... It doesn't affect me in the same way that it affects some other people. So for me, it's just a video that I disagree with some of the conclusions that he made in the video on. But past that, for me, it's just a disagreement. Sci-Fi Mind says, you have learned Flash of Light, you have blinded a stranger. That is not wrong, Flash. We're talking about Flash in the paladin sense, not the pervy sense. I get they're both P words. Seraphim says, Oz, our evil overlord. I need to actually change Oz's role in the Discord at some point to evil overlord. Raging Atheist says, I love Rationality Rules, but I think he's wrong on this. I agree with you. I love Steven's channel. I love his content, but you and I both probably hold the same position. When it came to that one video, we just disagree. Just like I don't agree with his stance on morality either. He thinks that it's objective based on Sam Harris's idea of the moral landscape. I don't agree with his conclusions there either. Sci-Fi Mind says, as someone who is trans, I can say it angers me. And that's fine. If it angers you, be angry. Like, I can't stop you from being angry. But past that, I'm not going to delve into drama with me and other YouTubers. I'm just not. There's no reason for me to pull myself down to it. I disagree with the conclusions he made in his video. That's as far as it has to go. Caleb Knox says, check Discord. Peeps are asking for a polycule chart, and I have provided. Oh, dear. Aha! It is a polycule chart. As provided by Gaelic Knox. Allow me to pull this in. So some people have been asking for a polycule chart. Here you go. Cirrus, Raz, Emmett, Jeremy, and the Meaningless Void. Jeremy is dating the Meaningless Void. There we go. So ideally that clears things up, maybe. I'll bring it up again if I need to. Callan says, the trans person, yeah, it ticked me off. Again, fair enough. And Atheist 2 Girls, thank you for considering your cis status on your opinion on it. Hey, it's a bias. I can't deny that. And Sci-Fi Mind says, your spell does both. Well, that's not unlike how healing spells work in D&D, where if you're a paladin, you kind of have to physically touch people. The last campaign I did as a paladin, I practically just made myself, like, physically fondle people to heal them. Just like, hey, I'm going to heal you, but you're going to be really uncomfortable. Fair enough. Oz says, I still wonder who holds more power in the channel, me or you, after Raz. It's hard to say, Oz. It's hard to say. You hold power on the channel when I have time to accommodate your video per month, which I now have time to accommodate, thankfully, because I am now getting half the funding that I was before, which sucks for monetary reasons, but hey, there's that. Says, depends on the spell, sir. Is healing word you don't need to touch. Yeah, but cure wounds requires much fondling. Let's see. Wombalogist says, do you want me to do a digital version of that drawing I did of the polycule? I haven't done a project that big in a while. Wumbo, I will say this. DM me, because there's a specific reason that I would like that maybe to be held off a little bit. Emmett has sent me a thing that has made me laugh. But that is not what I meant. Shannon says, okay, I went and got the torches. Are we rioting? I don't know. You guys want to. Sci-Fi Mind says, Wombologist has the power of Cirrus's channel, and the lewds must flow. Speaking of which, I need to check the fan art section and see if anything was submitted during the course of this. Because, as always, any live stream that goes up will have fan art thrown up live. And we began about 35 minutes ago, so no. Although we do have, like, very buff Cirrus that was sent into there, but it was not put up during the course of the episode. Atheist Girl says, it isn't a large amount, but you are awesome and deserve funding. Well, thank you for that. Hey, everything helps. Like, every little bit helps. Michael says, do you watch Geography Now on YouTube? The host, Paul Pavetta, made a vid about New Zealand. I have not heard of Geography Now. This is the first I've seen of it. So I am not certain. Caleb Klopoff says, is there any religion you enjoy learning about? Not believe in, but any you found interested? I'll be honest. There's a lot of stuff. Just maybe it's because I used to be Christian, but Christianity still fascinates me. Like a lot of the history behind it. A lot of like it wasn't until after I became atheist that I learned that 5 of Paul's letters aren't necessarily attributed to Paul correctly. So there's a lot of history when it comes to Christianity that I do enjoy studying. Drag says, what happened to your funding? So long story short, the way that I was doing or keeping up with bills was Pam would work, I would work on my videos, and then when I wasn't working on videos, I would do voiceovers for a secondary channel. Problem is that my ability to do those voiceovers for that channel were contingent on when I got scripts in, which sometimes would be last second. And two would be contingent on if I was doing other things, like working on the house. Unfortunately, because everything with having to get the house set up went on for so long, I was not able to reliably produce any or audios on time for that channel that I was trying to do for. So I went ahead and told them, hey, I might not be the best person for doing this job right now because we still have 2 more months of house renovations we have to do. Like, I'm still going to be bouncing between here and the other city constantly. So that's drive time that I'm taking into account. The computer's been giving me issues, so I've had to take it in to get repairs. If you guys remember that day that I had to send out the tweet that the computer was screwing up on. So just basically, I have enough time to produce the 5 videos that I do on my channel, possibly 6. I might try to do 6 videos a week now, just to try to make ends meet. I'm not 100% certain. But because of losing the ability to do those voice scripts as well, that kind of cut funding directly in half, which sucks, but that is the state of things at the moment. So that's the update on that for financial reasons. I haven't done any like official updates on that or anything because if we can scratch by with what we've got, then I'm not going to do like an announcement video for any of that stuff. There's no point. Sci-Fi Mind says, do you have control of the crossover portal or is it random? It depends. The crossover portal comes up when collaborations come up. So, but the collaborations are only like semi in my control. My wife asked why I had a gun out. I said Decepticons. She said Decepticons. I said yeah. She laughed. I laughed. The toaster laughed. I shot the toaster. It was fun. My favorite version of that my favorite version of that joke is, honey, why do you have your sword out? I said mimics. I laughed. She laughed. The table laughed. I stabbed the table. It was fun. CM says, my party lost 2 characters tonight, including my ranger, because our healer tried to do offense whilst we fought an assassin. So now I get to roll up a new one. This is the reason that I rolled a necromancer this last campaign. Having to be the one responsible for everybody's health bars. Like, it's just problematic. Will you go on... Sci-Fi Mind says, will you go full on Ghost in the Shell once the tech is available? I'll be honest. That would be interesting, although maybe less Ghost in the Shell and more Xenoblade Chronicles X. Possibly that. Purple Queer says, I can't even stand to hear Steven Anderson speak. I can't either, but unfortunately, the minute that I hear him speak, I know he's going to say something so, like, patently stupid that I have to do a response to it. Like, I know that the things he says are so wrong that they merit response. Which sucks. So, in an ideal world, let's see. Damien says, sirs, please attempt to say my fantasy names. Kelinso, Raver, and Daith. I'm probably very wrong on those. Kitty says, I enjoy playing healer with a decent party. With some of the parties I've been in, never again. Yeah, wanting to be a healer really almost always comes in any game. It comes down to, do I or do I not want to be responsible for my teammates doing idiotic things? If they run in and do idiotic things, how much do I want to actually heal them? If you've ever played World of Warcraft Classic Edition, which I know officially Classic isn't out yet, but if you either played back in the day when making one mistake in a dungeon got you wiped, or if you played on a private server recently, it feels to me that when somebody runs and does something stupid and you're the healer, the only thing that you can feel at that point is panic. Hashtag Heathen says, I'm holding on for a healer till the end of the night. Oh, I didn't say that in musical terms. I'm not singing again, though, so that's fine. Then again, Oz might force me to sing again, so whatevs. Oz says, my rogue was going in for the assassination, and our paladin decided to walk into the open since you bring up idiotic things. That's not unlike what happened in our campaign last night. Our monk, Raz, went behind a hobgoblin and one-shot it with a quarterstaff. And then Aaron one-shots another hobgoblin with her longbow. And then my necromancer goes, I can do that too! Casts Firebolt. Firebolt has to roll max damage, by the way, to actually kill the hobgoblins we were dealing with. Casts Firebolt, does 3 damage, alerts all the hobgoblins to our presence. Let the fight begin without stealth anymore. Fair enough. Let's see here. Wombala just says Vocaloid Cirrus, let's go. I have Vocaloid 4. I wish I could figure out how to work the damn thing. Because there's a particular joke that I want to use, but I can't use it because I don't know how to work Vocaloid 4. If you are listening here and you know how to use Vocaloid 4 and you know how to do it at least somewhat respectably, then please send me a message on Discord. I have a project that needs done. It's a 15-second audio project. I just am not good at the Vocaloid software at all. Sci-Fi Mind says, ooh, say my sci-fi names. Oh, okay. Tala? No, I don't think I can do that one. I tried. Gaelic Nox says, I'm specifically making a tanky life cleric specifically because I'm sick of the healer not being decent, so I'm going to be the best damn healer. Fair enough. Russ says, so it was a real Leroy Jenkins moment. Basically, except my character thought that they were doing the right thing instead of just being the stupid. Black Diamond says, I've got a Divine Soul sorcerer who has used his Cure Wounds spell to cure hangovers more than anything. Fair enough. Hi, Ripley. Hey, girl. You want to come up here? Do you want to be on stream? Come on. Yes? You can do it. You can do it. Aw, yeah. There's the Ripley. Hey, girl. How you doing? I'm gonna do the camera thing. We have a Ripley. She has come to say hello. How are you, Ripley? How you doing? You good? Oh, you're avoiding camera. Ah! I get the love from Pam, and then I get the love from Ripley. Oh, the pupper. It's taking so long for Ripley and the cats to actually get to the point where they can stand each other. So far, only one cat can stand Ripley. So that was fun. Trisha says, oh, my coloring wasn't as horribly off as I thought. I am checking in here. Has anything been submitted? No. Cool. I am free to keep on doing what I'm doing then. Dogs are the real gods. Yeah. Dogs are great. Let me go. There we go. Camera has to be fixed up. So, like I said before, got the power turned on to the house today. In an ideal world, Oz says, sorry, you're not getting shit from me, so don't hold your breath. Wait. I'm confused. I don't know where that one comes down to. Haley's fake name says, Aaron's the only one left in the house who hasn't licked you on camera. I have another roommate, and I would prefer he never lick me. On camera or otherwise. So, no. Please no. You know, Oz, I have no idea what you meant by that statement. I'm very confused. Very, very confused. All dogs go to Valhalla. How do you submit the stuffs? Submitting fan art, if you just go to my Discord, which is linked in the description below, the fan art section's there and available for posting anything. If it's NSFW, though, it will be removed and sent into the NSFW chat if it's allowed. But ideally, NSFW stuff you send to Raz for her to verify whether or not it can go in. Seraphim says, careful, someone might pay for that. Oh, my lord. Jeebus. Our Echo says, this is why I went through the effort to have the bard I started up have a familiar. Familiars are useful. They are very useful. Cyrus, why did the Daisy ask the mushroom out on a date? I have absolutely no idea. Someone says that I am forgetting the invisible person behind you. I mean, the only thing behind me... Oh, there it is. The only thing behind me is my glaive. Like, that's behind me. But that's not a person. That's a weapon. I don't treat it like a person usually. Sometimes. Because she thought he was a fun guy. Oh my gosh. No, bad. No. Beware the bard. The true power lies in their words. As long as they're not casting nothing but vicious mockery, then possibly. Possibly. But that said, I can't think Neil Stone says I wrote a fanfic about you. That scares me. Because I know the kinds of fanfics that get written about me. And they're weird. They're weird. Though, now that I'm thinking about it, I am curious. We're going to go into my comment section, which is possibly one of the worst things I can do right now. And I'm going to see if there's anything interesting in there. Because we got a few more minutes. Why not use them scouring comments? As soon as my computer will actually load my comment section, of course. Let us see here. Anything recent that I have not responded to. Because I know there was one from this person named No, who said that, oh, everything you said in this video is stupid. It was on my Evolution to Say the Darndest Things video. And if I can find their comment, I believe I had responded to them by going, okay, can you demonstrate anything that I said that was stupid? And they said it would take me too long to get into. So I just went, okay, but I've got time. Like, if you've got problems, please let me know. Like, I have an email from Aaron Raw where he said he didn't have any issues with that video, and it's his wheelhouse. So, I mean, if I got something wrong, let me know. But I don't think I did. At least not there. I've gotten things wrong in the past, but I really don't think that was one of the instances where it happened. There's also a lovely comment, if you guys are paying attention to my Twitter, from Robin Mew. When I did my polyamory video, they said that, or 11 hours ago, they said that, oh, so polyamorous people are cuckolds and cheaters. Like, oh, how? How did you manage to say something so wrong that even Kent Hovind would be proud? Let's see, fan art. Oh, I think that was one of the ones that you posted before. But it was posted here, so we will go in here. And if I can... Oh, no, I don't have that in the right area. 1 second. I need to actually open up my fan art folder to get everything sorted. There we are. Boom. All right, sci-fi. Where did I put your thing? There we go. For some reason, it's turned on its side. But that means it can go into the little, like, fan art box. There's actually going to be an official fan art box later, but right now it's going to have to be this little dinky thing over here because I am bad at this. Like, notoriously bad. Says lots of people are tagging you in comments, so I have another one. Let's see here. Michael says, time to look at some good fan art. How can consenting relationship be cuckolding, cheating? Well, a consenting relationship can be cuckolding because that's just a kink, right? Like, cuckolding is just a kink. But cheating, no. Like, I don't know how many times I'll have to say it, but if you're in a relationship that has rules, and those rules allow for multiple people, then multiple people are not cheating. Like, being in a polyamorous relationship does mean that you can get cheated on. If somebody goes out with somebody else who you have not approved, then you have been cheated on. So, nah, it's weird. Cheating involves breaking rules, and if the rules allow for it, yeah, it's weird. Dragworker says, my dude, when I get my tax return, I'm going to help you out some. You don't have to do that. Like, I'm not going to say, I will not say no to any financial support, but I will also say that you do not have to do that. Says, turn BBEG into a rabbit, put him in a box, polymorph ends, BBEG ejected out the lock as a pre-surist stream of biomatter. Huh. That's just strange. Neil Stone says, my fanfic involves Ocean and Surus doing naughty things. Of course it does. Of course it does. Seraphim says, sadly, people think cuckolding is something common for poly relationships. You know, usually it's not, because cuckolding is a kink thing. If you look up the way that tag went through, it said pre-surist instead of pressurized. It was weird. Premature surrisculation. Oh, God. You're on a planet called Ishmara. The natives are humanoid bird people whose lungs and heart are the same organ. That would be terrifying. Like, everything relies on that one organ now. You hit that, they die. Bumblebee says, I don't get much income outside support. I need commissions and support to support other people. Again, I'll say it 1,000 times. If you do not have the ability to, or you do not want to, like, there's nothing saying that you have to. I will say this, Bumblebee was the person who made the female avatar I used for the April Fool's video, and I'll probably be using once or twice more throughout the course of my channel. Maybe more than that. We'll see how people respond to it when it's not the April Fool's video. But they did make that artwork, so definitely thank you to Bumble and Bee, and if anybody in the chat can thank them or like take a commission from them or anything, they provided that one for me to use on videos, and ideally the April 1st video was a wonderful introduction for it for people. Trickster says, call me old-fashioned, but I just call myself hedonistic. Hey, there's nothing wrong with being a hedonist. My friend Inane Dragon's a hedonist as well. Because it says lungs and heart is the same organ, bad evolutionary design. Yeah, considering that the lungs hold air and the heart holds blood, so, like, in an ideal world, they wouldn't be the same organ, but, yeah. Gander says, what was the first anime that you saw, and what would be the one you recommend to everyone? The first anime that I saw ever was probably Dragon Ball, or Dragon Ball Z. A mixture of early Gundam, Dragon Ball Z, and Sailor Moon, whatever was on Toonami at the time. And then Pokemon shortly afterwards. Those were probably the first things that I was introduced to, anime-wise. As for first I would recommend to anybody, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Usually with anime, getting into any of the weirder stuff, think Gurren Lagann, Fooly Cooly, Kill the Kill. I just named 3 Studio Trigger things. Of course, they rank in weird. But getting people into like weirder anime is really hard. But getting them into something that seems close to like ground level normal is usually a good idea. And Full Metal Alchemist is a well-paced anime, both in the original and in the Brotherhood version. It's a well-paced anime, and it's very down-to-earth in how it functions. So I think that's a very good starting anime for people. Personally, though, like, as much as I would love to recommend Dragon Ball to somebody who's never seen anime before, because that's how I was introduced to it, I can't, because I think most, with the exception of Full Metal Alchemist, introducing somebody to shonen anime first is just a bad idea. Like, that's just weird. Shonen takes way too long to get to anything substantial. And, like, don't get me wrong, the build-up is good. Like, the fact that it takes so many episodes to make big things happen in shonen is one of the strengths of shonen anime. It's also one of the things that make it problematic to introduce people to. Let's see. Michael says, do you like Family Guy or South Park? There's a special place in my heart for Family Guy and South Park, but they're not something that I actively go out of my way to watch. Bumblebee says, have you watched JoJo? I want to make you a stand. JoJo is something that's been on mine and Pam's, Raziel's anime watch list for a while, but we have not seen it yet. I know that I need to, but it's just one of the things that we haven't gotten into yet. Sci-Fi Mind says, do you have a card called Polymerization or Polyamoration in your deck? I think you meant Polymerization. The answer to that is no, because Polymerization is a very slow and very unreliable form of fusion in Yu-Gi-Oh! It is not a form that I would recommend. If you're gonna use fusion, like I specifically play GOAT format, so the only form of fusion in there is Polymerization fusion, unless you're using like Metamorphosis, which is a much better way to do it. So, ideally, that answers that. Neilstone says, when I'm sad, I watch Cirrus because his pain makes me smile. Psh. Seraphim says, Cirrus, do you like Slayers? I have seen maybe 2 episodes of Slayers, so I can't make a judgment on it. Russ says, why didn't you tell everybody that I'm your favorite YouTuber? Well, Russ, that's because... next question. Michael says, Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, and Pokemon are considered very appealing to the LGBTQ for different reasons. Yeah. I think maybe just because they are... I can see Sailor Moon, because Sailor Moon does have the relationship between 2 of the Sailor Scouts. So I can see that, but I don't necessarily see how Dragon Ball would. Kadama says DBZ is the worst anime ever. I disagree. I think DBZ is good in everything except its pacing. If DBZ had better pacing, it would be better, and that's why Dragon Ball Kai exists. It's Dragon Ball Z with better pacing. So, I don't think it's the worst anime ever, especially considering that it wrote the antihero better than any other show has ever written an antihero. Like, when you think of the antihero of any anime, you almost always think of them in the framework of this anime's Vegeta. And I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty much a testament to how well written Vegeta is. My intro anime is Elfen Lied because I want to ruin your innocence. Yeah, no, that's not one that you introduce people to, at all. Lombal just says, Cirrus, have you seen that big caterpillar gem in Steven Universe that's Polly? Yes, I've seen all of Steven Universe. Cirrus, turning out to make my new D&D character. Enjoy the stream. Fair enough. Bumlin says, have a doodle. Fan art has been submitted. It now goes into... Hold on. I'm going to actually name these things as I get them in. Because if I don't do that, I'm going to lose them. You know, what I had been doing before is, like, as I got things in to the fan art section, I would add them into... And who submitted this one? I would categorize them after I was done with the stream, but I've since learned that that is a horrible idea. Because I end up losing track of who made what. So I'm fixing that right now. And actually naming things. There we go. Okay. So we're going to actually get those put in. As soon as I can find Streamlabs. This is the problem with me being my own tech person. Like... I can only do so much. So we have that one from Bumblin' Bee that was in. We also have... I need to go and put the one from Sci-Fi Mind in again, because it got kind of thrown out. And then I need... Where's the one that Zechariah put up? There it is. Tiny Doodle. Me saying, fear me. Oz says, I liked SAO and GT. Fight me. Oz? Me and you are going to have a conversation. I'm sorry. I'll say this. GT was watchable. That's about the best thing I can say about GT. GT was watchable. I can't say much more about Dragon Ball GT besides that. As for SAO, SAO is the same thing. SAO is watchable, but it is not good. It is not something that I can consider good. And if somebody hates me for not liking SAO, then yeah, it sucks. Pokemon is like an asexual. I like animals more. Fair enough. Sailor Uranus is... That's why Sailor Moon... Oh, okay. Fair enough. That makes sense. That makes sense. Neil Stone says, I highly recommend High School DxD to people who are new to anime. It has something for everyone. Nudity, demons, beautiful girls, hot men, and a perverted as a protagonist. Let's see. Davian says, Frieza says it's 10 minutes before the world blows up. Want to do anything fun next week? Tritiel says, what is GT? GT is Dragon Ball GT. Dragon Ball GT was the attempt from Toei Animation to continue Dragon Ball Z passed its expiration date. Bear in mind, Dragon Ball Z had already continued past its expiration date because Toriyama wanted that show to end at the Frieza saga. But they continued it till Cell and then till Buu. Fun fact, Majin Buu is the fat version of Majin Buu is actually based off Koriyama's editor at the time. Because he was getting so fucking tired of his editor, he just made him the antagonist and made him a bumbling idiot. So, fun fact for Dragon Ball fans out there. That said, because they were making so much money off of Dragon Ball at the time, they continued it into Dragon Ball GT, with or without Toriyama's say. He had some concept designs that he sent in for GT to help out, but he was not actively involved in GT the same way that he was with Dragon Ball Z, which was his baby. That Dr. Slump. So GT was the bastard child of Toei Animation and itself. Dragon Ball Super, luckily, is a lot better because what Super did is it gave Toriyama like 15 years to rest before coming back to the anime world and doing Dragon Ball again. Oz says Super Saiyan 4. Super Saiyan 4 is the one good thing that came out of GT, and unfortunately that's only an aesthetic choice. It's like saying this video game is good because it has good graphics, even if it plays like absolute horse crap. King Pooh says Ranma 1/2. My question would be, do I like Ranma 1/2? I don't know. Do I have a poster from Ranma 1/2 right behind me? The answer is yes. I am a fan of Ranma. Let's see. Swing through there. I am late to the chat, but how long have you been polyamorous? It's hard to say. I can tell you when I found out that I was, which I said earlier in the chat, which was 4 or 5-ish years ago, finding out practically by accident. As for how long, it's hard to say. I do blame, if anybody's seen Tenchi Muyo, I kind of want to blame Tenchi Muyo for that a little bit, because like that was like one of the introductions for me into relationships, was watching that anime on Toonami. And so the idea of like somebody being stuck in a relationship, not stuck, Tenchi was stuck, but not everybody is. But the idea of somebody being like basically in a relationship with more than one person was introduced to me at a really young age. Also, one of my best friends growing up, who was also pagan, was in a V. So again, that was something that was introduced to me early on. So I can say that it didn't seem abnormal to me for a very long time, but I don't know necessarily how long I was, because it's hard for me to determine that. Nielsen says, I prefer Dragon Ball Super. Dragon Ball Super is good. Super actually understands pacing, which is wonderful. Steven Universe is fetish fuel. If you think Steven Universe is fetish fuel, then I would like to introduce you to the show Totally Spies. Totally Spies is way more fetish fuel than Steven Universe. Way more. Wombologist says, knowing poly is a thing makes love triangles really frustrating in fiction. I mean, love triangles still work, because if the characters aren't poly, then boom. Also, if the characters can't stand each other, then it wouldn't work as a relationship anyway. Michael says, I know that one, sir, as I said it earlier. Oh, fair enough. I'm trying to keep track of the chat. I am sorry. Dragworker says, Totally Spies ruined me. Totally Spies is from a creepy land, France. Hey, Code Lyoko is also from France. Code Lyoko is great. You know, the only thing I don't like about love triangles is that they seem like they stop the plot of the story for just deliberation between characters and awkward, cringy scenarios. Kitty says, offer Cirrus an ice cream cone. I'm going to actually get an ice cream cone after this, and then probably here when I'm done with making my actual episode, then I'm also going to be outside sparring with Yi Glaive over there, because I need to exercise. So yeah, there we are. Barbaranto says, is there a single cartoon someone hasn't used for fetish fuel? I'm going to go ahead and say one that I know for a fact is a lie. Sonic the Hedgehog. Don't at me. Let's see. Okay, Ruby, talk about messed up relationships, gay characters coming to terms with eventually, and girls kissing, and girls kicking major ass. Bumblebee says, as a shipper whose Pan and Polly love triangles hurt my soul. Yeah, because you're just like, you could just turn it into a V. Mr. Rickman says, favorite flavor ice cream, Rocky Road. I am a huge Rocky Road fan. Or just like really, really, really dark chocolate. So, hopefully there's that. But, also I have a message in here. Wambala just says, hello, I would like to offer you some tank art. Oh my lord. Okay. I have a thing that I need to show you guys that was sent to me. Here you go. Apparently this is how this stream went. This right here. Which is honestly how it felt. Like, let's be honest. Let's see here. Oh, I didn't even realize that there was a tiny Emmett just, like, sitting in her shirt. I just noticed that. I've got to actually resize this to the point where it gets in there. You know what? It goes here. Boom. There's where it goes. Stress says that was totally what was happening earlier. He's also in love with Peter Pan peanut butter. Oz, I will shoot. I will take a water gun. I will fill it with vinegar, and I will spray you with it. You will not enjoy it. Wambala just says, I love them both, but I have to pick one. Honestly, or talk to them and make arrangements. Like, yeah, there's that. You know what also there is? There also is, like, sitting them both down and then just going, look, I like both of you, so I'm going to date both of you. Like, if that's a thing that they can deal with. Let's see. Fire Night, the greatest ice cream is Ben & Jerry's Milk and Cookies ice cream. I will fight you on that. Sci-Fi Mind says, what's your favorite alien from anything? It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. I don't know. It's not a thing that I've really considered. So, yeah, I can't say. Michael says, Cirrus, do you believe in reincarnation? I have a feeling that I've had past lives, but it could be from an active imagination. So I don't believe in reincarnation, but do I think that it would be neat? Sure. I would actually enjoy that as a concept, because the ability to live another life after this would be great, because there's only so many things I can do in this one. So the idea of past lives, that sounds cool. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think that it's the case. Dragworker says, poly ships are just the harem ending, don't at me. Actually, Drag, funny story. If you're familiar with the story of Tenchi Muyo, so throughout the course of the story in Tenchi Muyo, Tenchi never actively admits love for any, like, one character, at least in, like, Tenchi Muyo Ryo-Oki. But he ends up, like, dating all of them kind of, like, on and off. And then when the original artist behind Tenchi Muyo was asked who he ultimately falls in love with, whether it's Ayaka or if it's Ryoko or if it's any of the women that he was with, he just said he ends up getting together with all of them. And that the relationship is just all of them. Like, it's not a thing that ever happens in the show itself, but it's a thing that was confirmed by the person who penned the show. So, actually, yes, that was literally the harem ending. Have you seen Black Butler? If so, thoughts? I haven't seen it yet, but Raz has seen it, and she's a huge fan. Sci-Fi Mind says, put on your power armor. It's the only way out of this. I don't think I'm getting out of this. I can't. Katia says, if you consider that energy can either be destroyed or created, and you get energy from matter and vice versa. True. That's the thing that's been given to me before. Alpha's best alien, apart from the whole cat thing. You know, let's see. Black Butler is kind of Fujoshi bait. It really is. from what I understand. It really is. But yeah, no, Drag, I will at you on that. In fact, actually, Drag Worker, sorry, but I have to at you. That's how Tenchi ended. There. You didn't want to be added, but I added you anyway. Fight me. What are you going to do about it? You could not do anything about it at all. There. Clannad and Clannad After Story is the best harem anime. I have to watch Clannad still. I've heard that it will make me cry, though. So, at some point I will. But currently I have not seen it. But again, I have heard that it is awesome. Damn you. Damn you from Drag Worker. Oh! That's a thing that I probably should point out to you guys. Speaking of stream stuff, and that I'll probably be going off air in a little bit. I should have said this earlier, but it completely slipped my mind. So I'm going to be doing a stream for Extra Life at some point soon, if you guys are familiar with Extra Life. Normally, they make you do a 24-hour gaming stream where you raise money for children's hospitals. The one that I have... Let me see here. Let me go to Extra Life real quick, because I have the one that I'm going to be doing. The Children's Healthcare of Atlanta is who I'm going to be playing in support for. But I do not know if I should do a video game or not, or if I should do a standard conversational stream. I feel like a standard conversational stream is more what my channel is about, but at the same time, Extra Life is specifically about video gaming, so I would need to do gaming. I don't want to host it on my gaming channel, because even though that is the channel that it technically should be on the gaming channel, I only have like 200, 300 subscribers. Not enough to really warrant running anything on there. I would like there to be enough donations on there to hit whatever goals that I set for myself. So what do you guys think? What should I do for Extra Life? And I'm not going to do a D&D game for Extra Life because I can only handle a 3-hour session right now. Bumblebee says, play some multiplayer games and interact with fans, maybe. Yeah. Your Boredness says, play a video game and it should be Xenoblade Chronicles, the original preferably. If I did video game, if I did Xenoblade Chronicles, I would do Xenoblade Chronicles X because Elma is awesome. That's what I would do, personally. Let's see. Sir, if you could do one race from Elder Scrolls, what would you pick? Considering that I have not actually played an Elder Scrolls game, it's very hard for me to pick for you. Raz is the Elder Scrolls fan, so I can't really do that. Damien says, if magic was real, what kind would you use? I would manipulate gravity. I've always been kind of a fan of frost spells, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I think that they've got some of the most utility. And there's things that you can control better. Like a fire spell can catch an entire forest on fire and destroy it, but a frost spell can actually be used to stop a fire. It can also be used to break open a lock, for instance. I could see a lot more utility in frost spells, so I would rather go with that. Michael says, I talked to a YouTube atheist by the name of Telltale on his Discords. Michael, you know that Telltale is on my Discord too, right? Like, he's in my Discord. So, there's there. Let's see here. Seraphim says, I don't specifically talk to the YouTubers since I consider them as above me. Why would you consider them above you? And Seraphim, you and I talk on my Discord, so don't even lie. Like, Purple Rhymes Learn says, Extra Life is about gaming, not specifically video gaming. In November, they encouraged live marathon events for people to do tabletop games. Fair. My problem is that tabletop type stuff bores me to tears. Like, I can do card games because I'm a huge fan of the pseudo chess-like format that a card game like Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Weiss or Pokemon. I like those types of games. It's very hard for me to do standard board games, though, for very long. It's the same reason why I can only do D&D sessions for only about 3 hours. I'm invested for those 3 hours, but after that point, I start to get bored and can't do much more. Sci-Fi Mind says, play Minecraft with commentary so all of us can stalk you on a Minecraft server. I would rather do Terraria than Minecraft, personally. Just me. Dragworker says, honestly, you could just talk about gaming and its utility and benefits to people and the way that gaming is focused, but takes advantage of our channel style. Yeah, that's a thing that I could do. Yeah, no, Michael, Telltale is on my Discord, so there's that. He doesn't appear terribly often, but he's there. Terrified of Humans, which is Zechariah, says, must beat up Cirrus now. I don't understand why, though. Like, I mean, I'd beat me up. One just says, I thought I couldn't interact with YouTubers, and then I drew Cirrus sucking at tens a dick. Yeah, fair. Like, after doing that, you kind of just deal with that. Mr. Rickman sent $1, but no context. Hashtag Heathen says, I'd love to learn to play D&D at least once. Start with 5th edition. 5th edition is probably one of the more, like, even though, like, 3.5 is considered more popular, 5th edition is considered much more beginner-friendly. Kitty says 3-hour D&D sessions within the 24-hour period. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Rebecca Alfred Rickman sends $1 as well. Also with no context. Dang it. And I know who you two are. I'm just not going to say your names. Fair enough. Seraphim says it's D&D fighting with the Legends of Yore. Wum says, I mean, DM me. Hold on. But, like, why? I am curious. Oh. There. I have sent the DM to you, Wombologist. I have sent it. Bumblebee says, could you talk about religion in gaming? How it shows up, real religions, fictional ones, etc. Devil Survivor has a reincarnation chain, Cain and Abel thing. I could do that. I could also do, like, Final Fantasy X, because 10 has, like, the Cult of Sin. That's really interesting there. There's also Chrono Trigger does a really interesting thing with its religion there, where the monsters follow the cult of Magus, but depending on what you do with history, it becomes the cult of Ozzy instead, which is really interesting. As soon as I said, I'd offer to GM if it would help, but well, I don't know 5th edition, and I'm way too used to the system that I've been helping build instead. Driveworker says Final Fantasy X would be perfect to dissect religious narratives. Yeah. I might just do, like, League of Legends at some point. Oz says, sir, set up a D&D session and my character will be nice to you, maybe. I definitely won't, sorry. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I wouldn't expect you to anyway. Oddly, Nintendo's Code of Conduct forbids religion. I believe if it's real religions in their video games. You see, they forbid it, but, like, it's strange because Zelda has ridiculously religious undertones in it. So, if you can have others on stream, why not a 24-hour Terraria thing? Because I wouldn't want to do Terraria every 24 hours. I would like to bounce between things. So, like, I would like to do League of Legends for a good bit. I would like to do Paladins for a good bit. I would like to do Terraria for a good bit. And then I might just do, like, start out with Resident Evil 2. Like, try to run through all of Resident Evil 2. And then move on to doing the other stuff as well. Like, start out with a horror stream and then move into, like, fun stuff. Yeah, Drag, if it's Extra Life, it's a 24-hour stream. That's how they work. Tales of Symphonia has a similar religion set to Final Fantasy X. I'd have to check it out. I haven't played Tales of Symphonia yet. I played, during that era, I played Tales of the Abyss. Which I really enjoyed, but I have not played Symphonia. But considering that I owned a GameCube at the time and not a PS2, that's really weird that the one that I didn't play was Symphonia. Naming says, you're a hero. Does your power come from gods, science, mutations, aliens, or something else? Mutations would probably be the neatest one. Aliens is also cool. Powers coming from science is always cool, but at the same time, I know I'm not smart enough to build anything that would do that. Sci-Fi Mind says Star Trek or Star Wars? Star Wars. I'm sorry. I've deep dived into the Star Wars lore. I've read probably about 60 or 70% of all the Star Wars books, as well as gone through some of the games and gone through all the movies multiple times, including the freaking Christmas special. So, no, definitely Star Wars for me. I'm a huge fan of its lore. I know a lot about the Star Wars lore, probably an unhealthy amount of Star Wars lore. Back before the Hydian Way had been discovered within the Star Wars universe, and people had to use small jump points. Back when Jedis were called Jitai and had to actually use katana. Like, that's all, like, real Star Wars lore. Jack and Quill says the ones that aren't canon anymore. So they aren't canon, but at the same time, they're pseudo-canon. For instance, Darth Revan is considered a canon character. Darth Bane is considered a canon character. But the stories revolving around them aren't necessarily considered canon anymore. Kitty says, did you ever play Star Wars Galaxies in its day? I did not. I was told about it, but back then I was playing a lot of RuneScape. Black Diamond says, Doctor Who or Star Wars? Considering that I haven't seen Doctor Who yet, that's a thing that I need to watch at some point, so I can't say that. I can't say one way or another. Ozzy says, my Doomsday device blows up and gives people superpowers. You're welcome. That's not unlike what happens in DC Universe Online. Sloth Girl says, Han shot first. True. Han shot Greedo first. Very, very true. Anybody that thinks that Greedo shot first is wrong. Very, very incredibly wrong. Drag says, shit man, prepare your caffeine. Yeah, I'm going to have some 5-hour energies on reserve. And I'm probably going to have like a pizza meter where like during the stream, I'll order pizzas based on who sends in like PayPal donations. Because obviously I can't use Super Chats to buy a pizza because Super Chats don't come to me for like a month and a half. Stealing Gaelic for sushi. I'm being stolen for sushi, according to Gaelic. Okay, fair enough. Ellen says, so what do you know of the plasma sword backpacks? Oh my lord. I remember there's a point in the Star Wars comic canon where early Jedi and Sith, back when Ashla and Bogan had been converted out of their original religious states into fighting styles, that the plasma sword backpacks had to be used, and the style for using the plasma swords was different than the style that the Jedis use now, because the style for fighting for Jedi in modern day is cutting off your opponent's arm. That's how you win a fight. Cut off their lightsaber arm. Back then, the style was cut the power cable between the power pack and the sword to turn the sword off. So, yes, I do know about that era of Star Wars lore. I'm familiar. That's that's pre-Freedon Nad. Because I think Freedon Nad was one of the more powerful Sith Lords, like, well after the plasma backpack cycle. I could do an entire stream just talking about Star Wars. That would be fun. And some of the more, like, racist stuff that happened in Star Wars. Because there's an entire book about Mace Windu going to a jungle planet where everyone calls each other brother. Like, it's one of those things that, like, you read it, and because you know that Mace Windu is a dark-skinned character, you're just like, this book sounds kind of uncomfortable. Mr. Rickman says, look at my edge. I want all of you to look at it. 666. Very edgy. Very, very edgy. Sarah, so the lightsaber equivalent of pulling out a plug. Yes. Yeah, the power packs. I think they started with the backpacks, and then they moved from the backpacks into power packs on the belt, and then they started getting to the point where they could actually move the power cores inside the lightsabers. But no. Seraphim says, one of my professors in college wrote Star Wars novels. Well, if Shannon was still here, Paul helped work on episode 2 and 3, from what I understand. So that's why he got on to me so much whenever I did my my intro for Godless Cranium. He was like, no, your Star Wars intro is wrong. It doesn't have the right number of dots for the ellipses. The theory that Jar Jar's a Sith actually has some substantiation behind it. Unfortunately, it turns out that it can't work the way the story ultimately went, but it could have worked if we were only working with what was shown in episode 1 and 2. But with everything shown in episode 3, it doesn't work as well. Damien says, who is cooler, the guy who played Mace Windu in Star Wars or the guy who played Nick Fury in the Star Wars movie? The answer, or the Marvel movies, the answer is yes. See, Owen Flowing Spirit, they were also more like light whips. See, the funny thing about that, though, is that later on, light whips became its own style of weapon, though. Because Githany in the Darth Bane trilogy utilized a light whip, and she wasn't the only one. Because the light whips in Star Wars were used as a method of taking people off of their game during war times. They weren't used a lot, but some of them actually did use them. Seraphim says, sadly. I don't know what the sadly is for. Oh, sadly because the Jar Jar being a Sith wouldn't work. I would have liked if it would have worked. Sarah says, I think that lightsabers are impractical. Hail the phaser. Lightsabers are impractical in our universe, but they are not impractical in their universe. So in the universe where a Jedi can use the Force to block blaster bolts and I would assume also phaser shots, they're not impractical. Like, in universe, they're not impractical. Michael says, Jar Jar is hilarious, but Star Wars fans tend to hate him. I wasn't aware I was muting Michael today. I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that. Seraphim says, yes, that would have been amazing if we could have actually gotten that. I think it would have been cool, too, personally. But in an ideal world, completely off topic, I'm hoping that this whole setup can be fixed by Thursday. Yes, the light whip and a saber had a common ancestor, and that would be the plasma packs. If you treat Jar Jar as a gesture, it makes sense. Yes, it does make sense. But does that mean that I can just kick Jar Jar out of the royal court? Because, like, I would love to do that. That'd be great. Purple Bronze of the Thorns, ancient weapons and hocus-pocus religions are no substitute for a good blaster at your side. Kadama says, I only seen one Star Wars movie, and I seen monobiosphere planets supporting and developing life, and I was like, nope. Yeah, well, in the Star Wars canon, a lot of planets are in the Goldilocks zone that otherwise might not be. But the thing to remember with Star Wars is that it's not science fiction. It's a space opera / a Western. Really, it's a Western. The Star Wars movies, for the most part, are Western-style films. It's just that they're an old Western movie with the trappings of sci-fi. So if you look at them expecting scientific accuracy, you're going to walk away really disappointed. But that's not what they go for. So it's fine. Wombologist says, I actually watched Star Wars in my Earth and Space Science class in high school because my teacher was woefully unprepared and thrown into having usually been an enviro-science teacher. Fair. An icy planet and a desert planet. Is there also a water planet in Star Wars movies? Yes, actually. The planet that primarily hosted the cloning facilities, that was a water planet as well, where all the facilities were held underwater and it was in a constant state of storm. So, monobiosphere planets, they're... My biggest problem with monobiosphere planets is that there's a lot of different space-themed intellectual properties that utilize them. Metroid actually utilizes them as well. Metroid has a multi-biosphere planet in the form of Talon 4, but then as soon as you get to Metroid Prime 3, you move on to monobiosphere planets, and it's really weird. But wasn't Jar Jar's homeland underwater? It was underwater, but it was also a swamp. Like, his homeland was underwater, but the planet was not a water planet. Sci-Fi Line says, would you want to be Q from Star Trek? See, it's weird. I could be Q from Star Trek, or I could be Discord from My Little Pony, and they're the same character voiced by the same person. So, like, the answer, I guess, is yes. Possibly. But yeah, the Gungans were a underwater race. Well, an amphibious race. They could exist both ways. No problem. But they didn't necessarily have to exist on a water planet. They could just be in a swamp. Which I guess makes Jar Jar the swamp hillbilly. I guess. Purple Rhymes with Lawrence says, I got into an argument with Bionic Dance for calling Star Wars a space western. Yeah. I could see why you would get in an argument with her with that. When Baller just says that I have a large chunks of My Little Pony memorized. I have a lot of the songs memorized. Sci-Fi Mind says, so does that mean that My Little Pony is in Trek canon? It could. It could, since Q and Discord are just the same thing. Purple Runs with Orange says, they truly monobiosphere planets, or do they just identify them by the majority feature? Earth could easily be considered to be an ocean planet. So, the thing with Star Wars is that, take Dagobah. The Dagobah system is a swamp planet, and if you look at the spheroid that it's on, it doesn't look like there's a lot of change between the North and South poles. And then if you look at Hoth, Hoth is all snow. There's no change from the North and South Pole anywhere on Hoth. And granted, since it's already snow, then you might just see it get colder as you go. But generally speaking, you only see the one biosphere. Same thing with Tatooine. Tatooine's a desert planet. Granted, Tatooine and like something like Mars might work, but for the most part in Star Wars, you do see monobiosphere planets with little change outside of just the planet's standard ecostructure. Jungle planets are almost all jungle. So Trigun is a space western. Well, Trigun literally like operates itself as a space western. Tatooine has a cantina full of weird aliens. It does, but remember that the cantina on Tatooine is two things. The cantina itself was near a spaceport, so there would have been a lot of different aliens there. Two, there's a lot of people who retire on Tatooine and just become moisture farmers. But so in sci-fi in general, you usually only see one biosphere per planet. That's all. A lot of that's because otherwise we would just have a bunch of planets that just ended up looking like different Earths. From what I understand. Granted, that makes things really boring because, like, as humans, we want to find more Earth-like planets, but in sci-fi, if all planets are Earth-like, all planets are kind of boring. Well, says not so much retire as hide from the Empire. Yeah, fair. That said, we have been going on for an hour and 52 minutes, and I don't really think there's a whole lot more that I could add in, conversation-wise. But I have enjoyed hanging out with you guys. It's been fun. So I am going to go ahead and get things wrapped up here. If you guys have any last-second questions to throw in, then I would be glad to go ahead and answer. But until then, oh boy. My fan art section has a work in progress in it. I'm not going to throw it up just yet. Could Darth Vader beat Bible Man? Darth Vader has a different religion than Bible Man, so I don't know. Seraphimide says, sir, is pizza of choice? It used to be Supreme, and then it was meat or carnivore pizza, and then it became buffalo chicken. For me, it's a day-to-day thing. Every day brings a different pizza. Speaking of pizza, I'm probably going to order some for all of us because I'm not going to have time to cook. But there's always time for pizza. So there's that. Sloth Girl says pineapple or no pineapple. The answer is there are some days where I actually want pineapple. So. Frey says, Cirrus, what is the best poly YouTuber you found besides you? I haven't actually looked up polyamorous YouTubers, actually. It's just not a thing that I do. So I can't answer that because I don't know. Patrick says, how old are you? 27. I am currently 27. The fact that I'm still alive sometimes confuses me. But yeah, no, the answer to that is 27. Purple says no. Purple, you hate so much the pineapple, but it's okay. The pineapple loves you. Pineapple's the fruit that will eat you as you eat it. But that said, thank you guys for tuning out. I'm going to go ahead and hop off and hopefully figure out what we're doing for the edible food.